I got that call that said, I don't know what you did, but you don't have cancer anymore. And for me, it was, I just couldn't believe it. Just think of everything about start of your diagnosis until now and everything that it took to get to where you were at. I was so speechless. It was holiday season. I told a lot
Yep.
of close friends around me, and they all thought it was the best idea, to put in an envelope, give it to your mom, and, you know, it worked out.
Welcome to another episode of the Discipline Man podcast, where we talk about discipline, mindset, and the profound impact they have on manhood. We know manhood doesn't look the same for everyone, and real strength lies in authenticity and personal truth. So join us for another enriching conversation about how real men think, how we feel, and how we navigate the complexities of modern masculinity. Now, we talk a lot about adversity. We talk a lot about being able to build a positive mindset. So today's guest, man, we had an incredible conversation here in LA at the Uninterrupted event here a couple weeks ago, or maybe it was just last week. I don't even remember at this point, but I was so excited to have this conversation because I know we have an opportunity to really talk about how to develop a positive and resilient mindset, because this guy has just been able to do that in ways that are unimaginable to most, knowing his backstory. Just in addition to the fact that you got the junior NBA local coach of the year, Mr. Troy Druppal. Welcome to the show, brother.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for having me on.
Of course, bro. And I wouldn't have it any other way. Just knowing your story and just some of the things that you were able to share with me during our short conversation. I think we talked at least 30 minutes just going back and forth just about how incredible your story is and the importance of developing a positive and resilient mindset. But before we even get to that, I want to talk a little bit about, man, your love for basketball. Tell me about that journey for you. How did that start? What was it that kind of drew you to basketball? Talk a little bit about that.
Uh, Quick story. My next door neighbor was an athlete, big basketball player. And I got into the sport because he was always playing in his backyard and the ball would always go over the fence to my yard. And I would always see him hopping the fence, every day, every other day. And one day he saw me and he kind of said sorry. And then ever since then, he started knocking on the front door to, get the basketball. And I'm like, dude, you can just keep hopping the fence. And then one day he invited me over to play basketball and kind of fell in love with it ever since. And yeah, I've just been appreciative of the opportunities that, the places the game has taken me, from, all the way to Boston, you know, Texas, Arizona, just a lot of great experiences that I got to do and be a part of just
Of
from,
course.
you know, the game.
For sure, for sure. Why don't you share a little bit about some of those experiences as well? You just mentioned Texas, Boston. Share a little bit about those experiences and kind of like your love in general for basketball and how that's gotten you to where you are today.
Yeah. So one thing I don't think I mentioned when we were in LA is I currently play for all amputee basketball team called AMP One, and AMP
Mm,
One, stands for amputee, basketball. And we are the only stand-up amputee basketball team in the world.
mm,
When you think of Paralympic basketball players, it's all wheelchair. And if you are an upper body amputee, you are not able to play in a wheelchair for safety reasons. So if you are a either an upper limb or a lower limb amputee, but you're able to compete while standing up, we wanted to create a platform where you can do that. And
yep.
so what we do is we host tournaments every year where we invite all amputees from around the country to play in a 3-on-3 amputee basketball tournament. We've traveled to, like Colorado, and done a charity game where we played against alumni, basketball players from a school. Um, and so that's been amazing. I met Jaylen Brown from the Boston Celtics at a event when he was a student at UC Berkeley
Yep.
and going through cancer. He's been just a real good friend to me, kind of like a family. And he invited me to Boston and, flew me out there for a few days when I became cancer free and got to go to the Garden and, watch them play against the Golden State Warriors and, hoop with them, play a little one-on-one. And so it's helped me in so many ways that words just don't even come close to really explaining how grateful I am and just the opportunities that it's given me to not only enjoy what I'm doing,
Yep.
where I can make a living off of it, but also just something that keeps me going, something that keeps me breathing and waking up every morning, having that will to keep going in life.
For sure. Now I have to ask you, which side were you on when the Celtics played the Warriors?
It's funny. I was on the home team side. So I was
Yeah.
rooting against the Warriors. Unfortunately, they played in the finals a couple years ago in
Yep.
uh, 2022, and it was the same. I was rooting for the home team when the Warriors were in San Francisco, when Boston was at
Yep.
home. I was rooting for them. So ultimately, I kind of favored the Warriors more because they had home court advantage. So they would have had 4 home games. Boston would have had 3. So
Fair.
overall, I guess you can say I was rooting for Golden State in that series. So
Fair enough.
and
I think that worked out for you.
right, exactly. Got a ring out of it
Now,
as well, so I can't complain about a little hardware.
for sure, for sure. And part of that story, you also got 2020 Junior NBA Coach of the Year. What did that actually mean to you, getting that achievement?
Man, it was awesome to be able to reflect on all the camps that I was a part of since my first day being a part of the organization. Thinking about all the kids I've coached, the hundreds of kids that,
Mm-hmm.
I spoke to and helped develop, tried to help gain some confidence and skill work within them, and to just have the level of respect and recognition from the campers that I was working with, the parents, my colleagues, the coaches I was able to work with. Uh, it was an honor. It was an honor
Yep.
to be recognized for something of that status, and people not looking at me and feeling like, oh man, like it's going to be hard for him to you know play or teach the game a certain way
Yeah.
because he does it
Yep.
differently. So for me, life has always been about adapting. And so I always have tried to use my ability to show kids that, you can do anything you want to do with a positive attitude, positive
Yep.
mindset, the will to just believe in yourself. And that should be enough. You don't have to go 0 to 100, but just go 0 to 1 and then 1 to 2, baby steps every single day. It's slow progress is better than no progress.
Yep.
So
Yep.
if camp was Monday through Friday, our goal on Tuesday is to be better than we were on Monday. Our goal on Wednesday is to be better than we were on Tuesday, and just keep elevating. And I think just the way I kind of carried myself is, kind of led to ultimately me achieving that award.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And it's such a huge deal that I don't want to dismiss under the circumstances because I mean it takes a lot to get out there and know that you're just grinding and doing what you have to do every single day. And you don't go in expecting to receive an award like that, but then people see the value that you bring and the influence that you have, and they give you that honor based on the work that you do. And of course, I did a little after we had an opportunity to talk. I did a little research and just hearing all the positive feedback about you and the energy that you bring to camps and stuff like that. They talked about your fighting spirit. How does how would you define your fighting spirit?
Man, knowing your purpose, I
Yeah.
think that really sticks with me a lot because I've always felt like I had to earn my stripes in
Yep.
a way. If I were to go play pickup basketball at a gym that I've never been to before, most of the time it would start off people not really passing me the ball that much, not sure if they knew that I could play, if they didn't know I could play. So for me, my mindset was always, all right, I'm gonna make sure that they see the value in me. So I would like
Yep.
make defense my strength. So I would go every time someone got the ball that I was guarding, I would get a steal, or block a shot or go
Yep.
get a rebound. And then when they see like, man, it's not about scoring with this guy. It's just about hustle. It's about effort. And
Yep.
so for me, I felt like this, my whole purpose was always just, you know, fighting for, what I wanted, fighting for my goals that I was achieving and just believing in everything that you love to do is worth fighting for. Like
Yep.
I wanted to, be a good basketball coach and I've, you know, coaches, were doing a ball handling drill and it was my turn to demonstrate. It'll be different, but I'm going to find a way and adapt to it. And, that's just kind of how I carried myself. And so
Yep. Yeah, for sure. And Troy, you've obviously had one heck of a journey to get to where you are right now. So let's pivot here a little bit and take a step back. You were diagnosed with osteosarcoma as a teenager. What happened in that story for you that sort of drove you to the point you're like, I'm just gonna do this anyway with a positive and resilient mindset and just have the attitude that regardless of what's thrown at me, I'm gonna make it work. And there's a point even in that journey, you just said you weren't even gonna do chemo. You just started focusing on your diet. You went vegetarian, and you said you worked out every day. But why don't you share a little bit more background about your story?
I remember there was a couple times when I would talk to my best friend who was the neighbor that lived next door to me. He was a freshman on the basketball team in high school, and he would always keep me updated with what's going on in school. This was very new to the social media era. I think only MySpace was out at the time. So,
Yeah,
it's not like now you can just iPhones weren't even out yet. So you can't just go on
for
Instagram
sure.
and see what's going on, look at someone's story. It was
Right,
back in the day. You gotta, you had to text with the numbers, and you had to like,
for sure.
text all the way. So uh I would say, you know, my friend would always keep me updated um, on how the basketball team was going, and for me it was always a purpose of I want to be out there one day. I need to
Yep,
wear my high school uniform, a coach's polo shirt, something. And I would look at what I was going through in the hospital, like I'm just gonna knock out chemo real quick and then like I'll be back out there. Like this
mm,
isn't gonna stop me from achieving my goals. And I don't care how sick I'm gonna get, I'm gonna be back out there. Like I love this game too much. I can see it doing wonders for me. And I feel that was my purpose in life, to be involved in the game one way or another. Obviously, ultimately when I was younger, my goal was to play in the NBA.
yep,
And as I got older and while going through chemo, it was still, I just need to be involved in basketball.
yep.
Can I be a coach? Can I be a ball boy? Can I keep stats? Can I do the scoreboard? Something involved in the game just was my will to keep going. And I think that's what kind of drove me.
Yeah, yeah. And at some point in that journey, you also got a fan who might be a Los Angeles Laker by the name of LeBron James. And I saw he wrote a letter to you. When you received that after, of course, years of like going through your journey, when you received that, help me understand like what that meant to you in that moment in time.
Dude, just knowing that one of the greatest players arguably, the greatest player to ever play the game, having millions of fans around the world, to take time to recognize somebody that, has went through something and challenges in their life. It meant everything, man. Uh, just to have that recognition and make you feel like what you're doing is making a difference. It's making an impact on others' journeys. And, I've always told myself if my story can inspire one kid out of 100, that one kid might turn into somebody that can go and speak to another 100 kids when he's
Yep.
older, or maybe 1,000 kids, and reach that many more people just from saying, Troy, your story helped me, and
Yep.
I didn't quit because of you. And for me, I felt that was enough.
Yeah. So for you, Troy, why is it important that people know the value of not quitting? And that's sort of a loaded question because of, obviously, of course, the things that you've had to battle with osteosarcoma and navigating the experience of, like, even when you talked about at some point you used to wake up and like your mom didn't actually know what was going on, and then your left arm became dead weight. Why is it so important to you for people to know the value of not quitting?
I believe you never know what the next day can bring.
Yeah.
And, there's been times where, your mind, you want to quit, you're tired, you don't feel like you have the strength, and you can go to bed and wake up the next morning feeling rejuvenated, just, from praying, if you're religious, just meditating, writing down, you know, thoughts, affirmations, reasons to want to keep going for your goals, reasons to want to keep trying to be the best version of yourself. Those tools, you know, can help you.
Yep.
And I feel like when you think about, when you wake up in the morning, what is the one thing that keeps you going? Like what makes you happy?
Hmm.
And that should always be at the, topic of your thoughts, your prayers. And, it's easy to get distracted in the world we're in today. It's easy to walk outside and be depressed, and to flip that and to make it easy to walk outside and be grateful for everything, for waking up, for having a roof over your head. It makes it so much harder to complain about
Hmm.
life. And I think that's the mindset that everybody should, try to embrace. Obviously, things are easier said than done because
Right.
we all have our own, struggles. And, my story is going to be a lot different than someone else that, may hear this. But in some way or another, we may have ties and connections to a certain, specific topic about, depression or anxiety. And the way I've dealt with it may be the same way someone else is going to deal with it,
Yeah.
and that can help them. And so I think it's just, trying to find what works best for you, and, believing in that, and just keep walking forward, just keep doing your best.
Yeah. Yeah. And on the same token, thinking about doing your best. Now, of course, your journey, as of course we've discussed thus far, you've had a different kind of battle than most people will ever experience in their life. And so, knowing what you've already been through, what are the overall ripple effects to your life when you talk about developing a positive mindset?
Uh, just having people seeing things for, what it is. Um,
Hmm.
and, with basketball, it's, understanding that if you're coaching, if when I'm coaching in a game, if there's a scenario where the team goes out on a 8-0 run, they score four quick baskets, and the other team's going crazy, and I look at my bench and everybody's all sobbing, their heads are down, and they're like, I'm like, hey, I start clapping, I was like, hey, game's 40 minutes, it's not 3 minutes, and
Yep.
you can get one kid to start cheering. He's going to get that next kid next to him to start cheering and, start being more positive. And, you hear the parents behind us, they're like, hey, you guys got this, stay focused, stay focused. It only takes one person, to see things in the bigger stage and not let any type of, distraction, overcome your mindset.
Hmm.
Um, because it is very easy to, like we said, it's very easy to get discouraged, if you don't achieve, a A on the school test, or if you don't achieve, you know, um, you know, points in your first game or, you know, whatever the case is. But I always say just anytime I'm at practice in a game, I always tell my kids, leave the gym knowing you did the best you could.
Right.
Don't have any regrets with your performance. Um, with your mindset, be as positive as you can be. And if you do that, you'll never have any regrets playing the game.
For sure. For sure. And why don't you talk a little bit about your work with the Challenge Athletes Foundation?
Yeah, Challenged Athletes Foundation is amazing. It's an amazing organization that works with able-bodied amputees, and they just a real big family organization. And their purpose is to help athletes compete in sports that is hard for them to do due to limited resources, or it could be due to unlimited, depending on where you're at, um, resources when it comes to prosthetics.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, insurance does not cover athletes' prosthetic legs or arms. From what I've been told is insurances look at that as a luxury for sports and not a necessity. So you can get a prosthetic leg, but it would be a leg that you can just walk with. But if you're going to be in the Paralympics, running a 400, or if you're going to play basketball or, even riding a bike, you're going to need a leg that can move differently than a leg that you can just walk in. So what the Challenge Athletes Foundation does is they work with a bunch of big organizations, big groups around the world, and they collect donations, and that money not only supports the foundation, but to keep it growing, but supports the athletes. And you're able to get a grant once a year if you apply and you meet all the requirements. And the grants can help you with traveling to events that you're participating in. They can help you fund a prosthetic arm or leg or a wheelchair. And they have a bunch of events every single year throughout Northern and Southern California where you can do all types of adaptive sports that you've never thought about doing, all the way from golf and the East Coast. They do sled hockey, cycling, snowboarding, and myself, I got involved in their triathlon events that they have every fall in San Diego, and that's been amazing. I met a
Yeah,
lot of great people out there, and um, yeah, so and I've been able to work with kids in the hospital to where I can, help spread that message across to them about playing basketball or baseball and connecting them with the Challenged Athletes Foundation. So that way, these kids who are becoming an amputee, a week ago and trying to find a new life, as they're evolving into a new person, letting them know
mm,
that, hey, there is something for you. There's something for us, and that's one of the biggest things that I want to continue to do is advocate for that foundation to spread awareness about adaptive sports and how it's really important to the community.
for sure. You just mentioned starting essentially a new life and becoming a new person. Can you share a little bit more about that, Troy?
Absolutely. I was just talking to somebody about this the other day. When I first became an amputee, I was very insecure, and I
Mm,
used to always have my sleeve hanging out of my shirt. I used to always wear long sleeves. My amputation was in February of 2006. So it was in the winter
mhm.
time, so it was always really cold. So I would always wear sweatshirts or long sleeves, and I would always have my sleeve hanging out. So it would, in a sense, make my brain feel like I had two arms. So I can feel a sense of comfort. I could feel a sense of belonging. And wasn't until not too long later where I was getting ready for school. I was late. I just did laundry and I put on a shirt and I was rushing out the door and I didn't untuck my sleeve. So it was inside my shirt. And I remember walking past some cars on my way to school and just looking in the mirror and just seeing my reflection through the windows and just like saying, wow, like this doesn't look too bad. Maybe this is the new me.
Yeah.
And I think at that moment it made me embrace having one arm instead of trying to hide it and always trying to be angled a certain way in pictures so you couldn't notice the side that was missing an arm. Or I would try to always wear jackets that were really big that made it seem like I had a shoulder and an arm there. And
Yeah.
so for kids who are going through it and feeling insecure or depressed about it, I don't the Challenged Athletes Foundation, I mean, it's amazing what they do for us. And so
Yeah.
I just want kids to know that you're not alone in this journey. Being an amputee has opened so many doors around, the world, for not only myself but others. And I want, the next generation to embrace the resources and, just be the best person that you can be.
How important was that moment for you, Troy, when you actually saw yourself and not hiding? How important was that moment for you?
Man, I mean, I definitely was a lot later to school, just staring at myself,
Yeah.
because it, it's almost like when you see these movies and they kind of go through like a time lapse of you know all the clothes that you have in your closet. You're picturing yourself wearing all of them in that moment. Like, okay, that's going to be
Yeah.
tucked in. That sleeve is going to be tucked in. That's going to be tucked in, and it's not going to be hidden anymore.
Yeah.
But I'm okay with that, and it I don't know. It kind of brought like a glare to my heart to where I didn't feel like I needed to hide anymore. Like this is me. I can't. My arm will never will grow back. A prosthetic is. If I had a prosthetic arm and it was just for show and tell, in my opinion. It wasn't
Yeah.
something I felt I could use on a regular basis to help me make breakfast, get dressed, or to play basketball. I was looking at it as something that it'll look like I have two arms, but in reality, I'm still doing everything in my regular life with one arm.
Right.
And so I really just felt I owe it to myself to just embrace who I am, and hopefully with me being confident in myself can hopefully help the next generation or the next person I meet be confident in themselves.
Yeah. And speaking about that confidence, I know being a coach, being a mentor is truly, truly important to you. And it just speaks volumes about who you are as a person. Why don't you share what you love about being a coach and a mentor?
And I think it's just watching them thrive. Um, One thing I always say is it's never about, you know, what you do, but how you do it,
Mhm.
and seeing kids who I coach kids from second grade to high schoolers, and you'll always have kids around you that feel they're not quick enough, they're not fast enough. And, I think me being able to instill positivity within them and help them develop, you know, uh, a physical and mental mindset that is stronger.
Mhm.
It speaks. I mean, I mean, I get speechless sometimes just watching how kids, really take note of me saying something and telling them what to do on the basketball court, and they'll literally go mimic everything I just said,
Yep.
and just knowing of how much attention that must have taken, because for me, I don't have two arms. So if I'm training somebody in a basketball drill, I have to use my words and say, right hand to left hand back to right hand. I can't demo it. If I do, it'll look like I'm doing a V dribble, or, just in and out dribble with one hand. So
Right.
it's really rewarding to see kids that really just listen and pay attention to what I'm saying, and knowing that they're not looking at me any less than another coach who can demo the drill and show
Yep.
them, but someone that's really taken the time to say it in a way where they can understand, whether you're in second grade or if you're in high school, learning how to speak to all these, whatever audience I'm in front of. And it's, it feels like the best job in the world, man. That's just what that's what it feels like, man. I'm just so blessed to, have a great group of kids that I've been around, for a long time.
Of course. Of course. And what you just mentioned, you talked about the power of words. So let's talk about that for a little bit, because of thinking about just mindset and what you tell yourself every single day. You talked about your meditation. You talked about just changing your diet and how that influences who you are and what you do every day now. But why is it so important to operate in a way where it allows you to develop a positive and resilient mindset with your words?
If you can see it, speak it into existence. I mean, you
Yep.
have to have that belief within yourself. And the hardest part is just sometimes it is just saying, like, hey, I can do this,
Yep.
eliminating can't from your vocabulary. You'll see it in all of these, positive, mindsets, books and, pages, how to be positive and, adversity. But, every day is opportunity to change, not only your life, but maybe someone else's who needs it more.
Yep.
And so telling yourself what you're capable of doing, why you're capable of doing it, is so much more valuable than saying, I don't think I can, I can't, because you need to tell yourself, no, I can because.
Yeah.
And sometimes that really goes a long way, telling yourself why you can do something, and knowing that it's okay to, you know, if it takes you longer to get there than, you know, you may think it should take you.
Yep.
I always say, like, life doesn't have dead ends, it just has detours.
Mm-hmm.
Me and you could be going to the same location, and you're an Uber, I'm taking a bike, whatever. We're getting it to the same spot. Might take
Yep.
me a little longer, but I'm gonna get there, and I'm
Yep.
not gonna let this stop me. And so that's just the type of mindset life should be. Like, you should have about life is knowing that you can do something no matter how long it takes, no matter what it takes to get there. Just believe in yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And thinking about believing in yourself and what you just mentioned, what you're capable of, there's also coaches and mentors that you had along that ride for you, thinking about your mom and your aunt, and you got results back the week before Christmas, and you decided you were going to share those results with somebody for Christmas. Walk me through that moment for you.
I didn't believe the nurse when I spoke to her on the phone, and I just went for my regular checkup, my bone and
Yep.
CT scans, and um, yeah, I got that call that said, "I don't know what you did, but you don't have cancer anymore." And I wasn't, even home yet, and I had to turn around and go back, and you know, I I was like, "Can I get this on paper?" Like, I don't. and this wasn't anybody who had been there since 2004 when I was
Yep.
diagnosed. So for me, it was this person just doesn't know my journey. You know, this is so important. Like I just couldn't believe it. You know, again, it was, a time lapse. You just think of everything about the start of your diagnosis until now and everything that it took to get to where you were at. And,
Yep.
I was so speechless. And one of the first things I saw was to make sure the date was right. I didn't want like them to say, give me the wrong date or something, or, and immediately, obviously, it was holiday season. So I was like, okay, Christmas is in literally 7 days. I can wait. I told a lot
Yep.
of close friends around me, and they all thought it was the best idea. The best thing you can do is, just wait, put in an envelope, give it to your mom, and, you know, it worked out.
Yep. So before we close out here, because I know based on our conversation, I'll just continue to ask you you questions. But why don't you share how people can support the Challenged Athletes Foundation?
Yeah, that would definitely mean a lot. You could go on www.challengedathletesfoundation.org. You can check out what we do. How you can donate, how you can support, get involved, volunteer, the events that are around. You can see if they're in your area, go check them out. They also have a Instagram, Challenged Athletes Foundation. That would be great, to just see what they do and how you can help. I mean, it definitely means a lot to, be a part of that organization and what they've done for myself. I've received grants in the past to help travel to, basketball events, to, compete in the triathlons, help me get gear that I need. And um, it's definitely something to check into.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll definitely do that. Last question for you, Troy. What is the legacy you want to leave?
Legacy I want to leave is being that person that is the reason kids don't give up,
Yeah,
being that reason kids can compete, give it all they got in whatever sports they're competing in, and being the best version of themselves. And
fair.
that's the type of, when I see kids that I've coached in the past, it's just having them remember me for how much of an impact I made on their life is, that's rewarding. Like that's enough for me.
For sure. For sure. And I lied. Two or three things maybe that you can share for somebody to develop a positive and resilient mindset.
First thing that you can do to develop a positive mindset, know your why.
Yeah.
Why is this important to you? Number two, the how. I think,
Mm,
how can you keep a positive mindset? What are things that you love doing, things that you feel can help you stay positive through adversity? And then the third one, I would say, be persistent. Like just keep going. Don't stop. Have that will, have that drive. It's gonna be hard, it's gonna be challenging,
yep.
but small progress is better than no progress.
Right.
And the more steps you make, the closer you are to being your best self.
Troy, man, I appreciate you, brother. Just I just know from your story, from our first conversation to the conversation we're having today, there's so much that people will be able to gather about just being able to fight through adversity and understanding what it looks like to actually have a positive and resilient mindset. So I just want to say I really appreciate you hopping on today to have a conversation, bro. It's definitely been a privilege to talk through all of this with you. And again, anybody listening, my hope is that you do some research about the Challenge Athletes Foundation, and you share as much as you possibly can to help and support those who are fighting battles that some of us will never have to experience. Troy, is there anything else that you want to share before we close out of here?
Man, be thankful every day. Do the best that you can. Have faith in yourself, and that's all I could ask. Just be the best person that you could be.
For sure. And for those listening, this is the Discipline Man podcast, where we talk about discipline, mindset, and the profound impact they have on manhood. Remember, discipline equals freedom. And while manhood can look different for each of us, the core values of authenticity, resilience, and integrity remain universal. We are the Discipline Man, and this is what real men think. Troy, appreciate you, bro.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you.